has faced some of the strongest villains in all of One Piece, some even competing for the spot as king of the pirates. But what if Luffy ate his enemy's devil fruits? Would he still be able to become king of the pirates? Or would he just fail at the first enemy he faces? Well, we're gonna go through each of his enemy's devil fruits to see what exactly would happen. Now, instead of Luffy getting the Gomu Gomu no Mi from Shanks' treasure chest, this time Luffy opens up the chest to find a bunch of different devil fruits to choose from. So to start off, Luffy chooses this devil fruit, which lets him split his body into pieces. Now, the Chop Chop fruit is a pretty unique Paramecia devil fruit and useful if used right. So after training with Garp, Ace, and Sabo for many years, I think it's clear that Luffy can still defeat Arlong with this fruit, as he's able to barrage him with attacks from all different places. But the real problem comes when Luffy comes face to face with Crocodile in the Grand Line. Since Crocodile has a Logia devil fruit that can control sand, there is no way Luffy can just simply get away from him, even if he's split into different pieces. Sadly, I think it ends there for Luffy. Now, that devil fruit didn't turn out well for him, but this next devil fruit might give him a better shot at becoming king of the pirates. Rewinding back to the beginning, Kid Luffy decided to choose this devil fruit, which allows him to turn into smoke. Now, again, he trains with Garp, Ace, and Sabo, making sure he knows how to throw a punch with the fruit, well, since he's just smoke. And also, he won't be able to get away from Garp's love punches either, since Garp knows hockey. But moving on to his first opponent, Arlong, and, well, let's just say it'd be an absolute breeze. Will he be able to beat Crocodile? Well, as we know in the anime, Luffy is able to defeat him with water. Also, it won't be easy for Crocodile to capture nor hold Luffy because he also has a Logia devil fruit. And I think this will give Luffy enough time to realize that water is the only way to beat him. As well as being able to fly with the smoke fruit, it'd be pretty easy to rain down water from above on Crocodile, making Luffy the winner. Moving on to Enel, which once again is another Logia versus Logia. Enel wouldn't be able to touch Luffy, dude, but neither would Luffy be able to touch Enel, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. So how would Luffy be able to win this? Well, just like the battle with Crocodile, I think it would take so long that Luffy realizes he can just use some gold to completely knock Enel out of existence. So moving on to Luffy's next challenge, we all know you can't really freeze smoke, so when Luffy comes face to face with Akuiji, it'd be an interesting situation to say the least. I still gotta give it to Akuiji, because like, power scaling? But when we get to Enies Lobby, it'd be a lot different. You see, with the smoke fruit, Luffy would be able to save Robin a whole lot quicker and have a faster battle with Blueno and Lucci, since they wouldn't be able to hit Luffy. And yes, I'm ruling out the fact that CP9 may or may not know hockey at this point. Fight about it in the comments section. Moving forward, we know Luffy can easily beat Moria on Thriller Bark. But on Sabaody against Kuma, yeah, Kuma wouldn't be able to beat him either. Now, I know it's not confirmed that Kuma knows hockey or not, at least to my knowledge, so it'd be hard for Kuma to touch him. Now, I think the reason Kuma still is able to teleport Luffy is because the rest of his crew is already gone, and Luffy is so in distress that he kind of just lets it happen. It's not out of the realm of possibility. But with this, Luffy is able to infiltrate Impel Down a whole lot easier and quicker, possibly getting to Ace, skipping a lot of levels and saving him before they end up sending him to Marineford. Now then, this is where the story takes a huge turn. So since Luffy saved Ace, there's now no need for a war between Whitebeard and the Marines, or a battle between Blackbeard and Whitebeard. So Luffy saves Ace, but now the motivation to get better is a lot less motivating. So the group meets back up at Sabaody days later, but is unfortunately stopped by Sentomaru or Kizaru. And well, they both know hockey, so stopping Luffy would be a whole lot easier. And I think that's where it'd be the end for the Straw Hat crew. So the 2 years in the hockey training with Rayleigh is going to come in handy for these later fruits. So 2 fruits down, and Luffy still hasn't been able to reach King of the Pirates status, let alone face down a Yonko. But stay tuned, because there's some fruits on this list that let Luffy speed run to the One Piece. All right, so back to the beginning. Luffy opens up the chest again, this time eats this devil fruit, giving him the ability to control sand. All right, another Logia fruit. Let's see how this goes. Well, he wipes the scene in the East Blue and most of the Grand Line, respectively, leading him straight to Akuiji again, which he does get frozen this time. Good thing Kuzan lets them off easy. But Enies Lobby would be a lot easier too, because Luffy could just low-key pull a Gaara against Blueno and just have his sand shield up the whole time. And brother, I'm calling it right now. He'd make a special move called Sand in D Eyes to defeat Lucci, bro. He don't stand a chance. So moving on to Impel Down, Luffy's infiltration would be a lot easier, as he can practically fly with the sand and move through levels quickly, and also dehydrate anybody that he may come across, which leads us back to a similar situation like the smoke fruit. These Logia fruits are just that OP that Luffy would be able to save Ace at Impel Down every time, leading to Luffy most likely not learning and training Haki for 2 years. Now, I'll leave you with this. If Luffy was to train with Haki for 2 years, I think with this fruit, he has an actual shot against some of the more stronger opponents of the New World. But alas, this is where I think the labor of this fruit ends. All right, lightning fruit time. Going back to the chest, chooses that devil fruit, shocks everyone in the entire bar after eating it. The Goru Goru no Mi allows them to control lightning. Another Logia, folks. I'm trying. Luffy wipes out the East Blue and the Grand Line respectively again and again, since it was so easy for Luffy to get to this point and save Ace before going into Marineford. There's no war. He'd have less motivation to train for 2 years, get captured right as the crew steps onto Sabaody, and boom. Now, don't worry if you're a Logia fan, guys. We've got another Logia fruit on our list that beats these by miles. Going back to the beginning again, and hoping that Luffy chooses a better fruit, he whips out this devil fruit, which allows him to slow things down. That's right, folks. We're doing Foxy's devil fruit. Let's see how it stacks up against the other ones we've talked about so far. So my guess is, after training with Garp, Ace, and Sabo, Luffy learned how to control the slow beams and use it to his advantage. But again, since Luffy is part of the monkey family, he either has the brains or the bronze. And as we know, Luffy definitely has the bronze. Now, this goes without saying, but he completely just mops the East Blue. I mean, all he has to do is slow Arlong down, and Luffy could use his family strength to defeat him. But actually, in the Grand Line, I think he'd have a lot more trouble. For example, with Crocodile, he's able to move all around thanks to sand being everywhere, and Luffy would need complete accuracy if he wanted to slow the dude down. And to add on top of all that, the slow effect only lasts for like 30 seconds. And do we really think Luffy's gonna figure out water weakens Crocodile in 30 seconds? I'm sorry, but Luffy just isn't smart enough to use this fruit to its fullest potential. At least not yet. And even if he did get past Crocodile, how would he be able to hit Enel when he's lightning fast? I know you guys had high hopes for this fruit, but our boy is just not. This is just not it, okay? Alright, so far Luffy's only reached up to Impel Down and has yet to enter the New World. But we're moving on up to much stronger level fruits now. So when Luffy opens the chest this time, he pulls out this devil fruit, which allows him to turn into a leopard. Luffy with a Zoan type fruit would just be insane. Training with Garp and his brothers in the jungle, just fighting beasts while he himself is a beast, would be a sight to see for sure. Now, this devil fruit can easily get him through the East Blue, and I only say that because of the durability of this fruit alone, since it is a Zoan. And with a bit of struggle, I can honestly see him getting through the Grand Line. So leading into Eni's lobby, with Lucci without a devil fruit, goodbye. Up until we get into Impel Down, this time Luffy has to go the hard way through all the levels of Impel Down. And this time he doesn't have Logia to speed through it all. So for the first time, Ace is actually taken to Marineford, where Luffy would actually have to fight against warlords, admirals, and even his own grandpa. Now, I do think Luffy saves Ace here, but nothing can stop Ace from hearing Akainu's Yo Daddy joke, ending Ace right in front of Luffy, and this time causing Luffy to go train with Rayleigh for 2 years and become a master of Haki. Now, as the Straw Hats finally set sail in the New World, Fishman Island and Punk Hazard were a breeze for them thanks to Luffy's already unnatural strength combined with his unnatural devil fruit and Haki. Now in Dressrosa, Luffy has a lot more strength to deal with, and it reminds me a bit of Bounce Man Luffy when it comes to facing against Doflamingo. Now I don't think it'll be easy by any means, but with this strength-oriented type of devil fruit, I think Luffy's Haki and devil fruit combined will actually be able to take down Doflamingo. But unfortunately, I believe Luffy won the original fight with Doflamingo because of his Gear 4th Bounce Man. It gave him a lot of strength, which, dude, his fist can literally clock back the shootout with incredible strength like a rubber band. Those things hurt, man. But it also gave him crazy speed, which this Zoan fruit doesn't really give him that. I mean, yeah, leopards are fast, but they're not Gear 4 Luffy fast. And although Zoan fruits are strong, I don't think it'll match the same strength even with his punches coated in hockey. Now, I do believe that this fight will go the distance, but I do believe also the Doflamingo would end up taking the W. Either send Luffy to the Shadow Realm or capture him for the Marines to take. Either way, Luffy ain't winning. I'm not sure where that leaves the Straw Hats Grand Fleet though. I know it wasn't made until after Dressrosa, but still, I'd like to think that they all get together anyway if they survive and break Luffy out of Impel Down or something like Ace. You know, that'd be pretty cool. Anyway, that's where it ends with Luffy and the leopard fruit. Oh, I wonder what fruit Luffy pulls out this time. He pulls out this pear-shaped devil fruit and decides to eat it, giving him the ability of string manipulation. To put it simply, Luffy will now be able to swing like Spider-Man, control people, and create string clones of himself. Yeah, strings can do a lot. So after his training with Garp, Ace, and Sabo, and literally going Tarzan on those vines from tree to tree, he'd have no problem getting past the East Blue. However, in the Grand Line, Luffy will face a hard battle against Crocodile. Crocodile seems to be like a mad skill check. Now, even though the Ito Ito no Mi is an Alogia-type devil fruit, this battle can get pretty intense. So Luffy is very much going to have a whole lot of a harder time figuring out the Crocodile's weakness is water, probably losing like twice over to him. But I do think that the strings give him a much better chance of surviving throughout the whole battle. I mean, he can still fly around like Doflamingo does, and if he gets attacked, he definitely has enough time to figure out Crocodile's weakness, which is why I'll give it to Luffy. But when it comes to Enel, I think this might be where it ends. The Ito Ito no Mi is a Paramecia type devil fruit, so that means that Enel can still hit Luffy with a lightning attack and hurt him. But one way Luffy can counter him is with a string clone. Now, mind you, Luffy still won't be able to hit Enel, but maybe it'll buy him enough time to grab some gold and just swing it at Enel's face or something. So let's just say that that somehow happens and he moves on to Eni's lobby. Luffy will have a much easier time here because this time he doesn't need to go hand-to-hand combat against Lucci. Instead, with his strings, he can attack Lucci from afar. Overall, I think he'll beat Lucci and save Robin. But going to Impel Down, Luffy will start to have the hardest time of his life, having to go through all the levels, but not as hard as when he had a leopard fruit. Still, I doubt he'd be able to save Ace before Marineford. But once at Marineford, well, I think it'd be a much bigger threat. Dude can create string clones and probably just swing right on over to save Ace. Yeah, it'd be that easy. Nothing else would go wrong. Luffy could probably even create a string key to uncuff Ace. I mean, sure, Ace would still inevitably die. I mean, you can't change that. That's a canon event. But that's not the point. Moving on to the new world with hockey abilities, Luffy's able to get through his enemies pretty swiftly. But not when it comes to Big Mom. When we get to her, everything becomes a whole lot murkier. I think Luffy would have to manipulate some of Big Mom's homies or kids to be able to at least get away from her. But ultimately, unless Luffy has already awakened this fruit, I don't think he can get away from her, dude. Because as we know, he used Gear 4th again on Big Mom. But with the Ito Ito no Mi, Luffy doesn't have any strong attacks to use, really. He only knows how to make clones and use the strings to manipulate people. Yet if he had awakened this fruit, he'd be able to at least get away from Big Mom, as he can use the stuff around him to create these sharp blade-like objects to attack her. But it'd probably end there for Luffy. Although, again, I definitely think with this fruit awakened, it would be a much different story. Now, although we didn't get to see an awakening quite yet, keep your eyes out on these next couple of fruits, because there's only 4 left to cover. Alright, rewinding back again, you know the drill. This time, Luffy opens the chest to reveal this devil fruit, which lets him manipulate people's souls. The Soru Soru no Mi will allow Luffy to take people's lifespans, souls, and even use his own soul to make different objects come to life. That being said, I think during his time with Garp, Ace, and Sabo training in the jungle, I think he'd get a pretty good handle on this fruit to the point where he can make his own homies, which are objects that come to life with his own soul. And a YouTuber by the name of Ohara has made a similar video where he also shows this devil fruit, and I really like the idea of Luffy having a staff as one of his homies. It makes sense because both of his brothers use a staff, so I'm gonna yoink that idea. Thank you, Ohara. Now, of course, moving on to actual enemies, I honestly don't know if Luffy would make it out of the East Blue. At least at this point in time, Luffy only knows how to make homies. But let's say Luffy was able to steal Arlong's lifespan or something along those lines. Do we honestly think that Luffy's gonna beat the skill check of Crocodile? Well, maybe, actually, because we do see Big Mom with her cloud homie named Zeus. Now, I don't remember how she was able to attain Zeus. I mean, you'd have to grab a literal cloud. Don't know how she did that, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. But let's say Luffy was able to get a cloud, turn it into a homie. Luffy can just rain down on Crocodile, like we said earlier, and save Alabasta from a drought. Okay, fine. Luffy survives Crocodile, and honestly, he probably beats Enel too, because we know Zeus loves his lightning balls. So if Luffy's version of Zeus can keep blocking Enel's lightning, then maybe Luffy will have enough time to create a bunch of gold homies to attack Enel. And I'm starting to think that this was meant to be Luffy's devil fruit with just how ridiculous these powers are. Fast forwarding to the new world, we get past Fishman Island and Dressrosa, and since there's no Big Mom, the only person left to defeat is Kaido. Now, we know how much hockey Luffy has, but can this fruit really help with that? Well, we know that Luffy has grabbed lightning before, so I think Luffy would be a distance fighter in this situation. But I think you all forgot that Luffy still got his staff. I think with the powers of Zeus and whatever other homies he's got at this point, and honestly, he'd probably make the Golden Sunny a homie too, Luffy will coat his staff with hockey and just beat Kaido by bonking him on the head or something. I mean, in reality, I actually really don't see that happening, because you see Kaido said something along the lines of hockey transcends all, kind of saying you can't just rule the seas with a strong devil fruit. And I mean, we can take a look at Gold Dig Roger. All he needed was hockey. So this soul fruit made it way too easy for Luffy, and I honestly don't see Luffy getting past Kaido with this fruit, because he'd have to use a combination of his devil fruit and hockey to pull off something great. And I just can't see it happening, at least not with this one. There's only 3 more fruits left in the chest. Which one will make Luffy the Pirate King? This time when Luffy opens up the chest, he chooses this devil fruit, which gives him the ability to turn into a whole freaking dragon. The fish fruit lets Luffy evolve from his Magikarp form into this enormous Gyarados form. Now it allows him to fly, and not only that, gives him immense strength, because of course it does. So after using it for a while on the island training with Garp, Ace, and Sabo, I think his hybrid version will become pretty strong. No, I don't believe Luffy would use a boat to travel until the crew gets the going merry, because of course he can fly. And to make this short, he's obliterating the East Blue in the Grand Line. So moving straight to Sabaody, I'm gonna be honest, he puts up a good fight with Kuma. Not enough to stop him, of course, because at this time Luffy's just a mere rookie, but Dragon Luffy has some kick to him, and I can definitely see the headlines of Luffy burning up Sabaody during this fight because of what Kuma did to the crew. But moving on to Marineford, this might come as a surprise to you all, but this time I think Luffy's able to escape with Ace before he can hear Akainu's Yo Daddy joke. Luffy escapes with Ace on his dragon form, letting all the Whitebeard pirates finally fall back and head back to sea. And if we continue this story the way it's going, the motivation for the Straw Hat crew to get better is very, not there. Meaning Luffy will either learn hockey, but not be so good at it, or they just straight away return to Sabaody and get captured. But let's just say Luffy didn't get to save Ace. I think the rest of the series might as well just be over, because with overwhelming hockey and such a powerful devil fruit, Luffy would definitely get through the series a whole lot faster. This next fruit, though, might let Luffy just speedrun the whole One Piece series. Luffy opens up the chest again, but this time chooses this fruit, which turns his whole hand into magma. The magma fruit allows Luffy to create, control, and transform into magma. Wow. Now, this devil fruit is definitely one of the strongest, and its current owner is one of the stronger characters in the series, so let's see how Luffy does with it. It goes without saying that Luffy blows back everyone in East Blue in the Grand Line, so let's just go straight to Marineford here. Luffy would be able to melt the chains off of Ace in no time at all. This time, there's no Akainu, so Luffy just straight up saves him. Now, I speculate that Luffy is still able to learn Haki, but I'm not sure about how powerful it would be, seeing as this time Luffy doesn't have to suffer the loss of Ace, as I've been saying over and over again, but like this time it's like even more true. Because he probably had the easiest time at Marineford with this fruit. No doubt that Luffy would also go through the entirety of the New World almost with almost zero problems. I mean, but when it comes to the Yonkos, that's where we gotta start drawing some lines. I definitely do think that Luffy beats Katakuri, but I'm not sure if Luffy would be able to defeat Big Mom with the lack of hockey training throughout his time in the New World. So I'll leave this fruit off with this. Luffy with less hockey training definitely gets beaten by either Kaido or Big Mom. But if Luffy were to have great control and training over his hockey, it'd be raps for everyone in the entire series, including the Gorosei. Now, fun fact, Oda has stated that if Akainu was the main character of One Piece, he would have found the One Piece by now. Which is just crazy. Alrighty, on to our final fruit. We have yet to become the king of the pirates with some of the strongest fruits in the series, so let's see what Luffy can do with this final fruit. This time, Luffy's looking at the inside of the chest and has his eye on one particular fruit. This fruit, which gives him the ability to create, control, and transform into darkness itself. Luffy goes off to train with his newfound power in the jungle with Garbace and Zabo. When it comes time to face against his opponents, it is a straight one shot. All Luffy has to do is create a black hole underneath Crocodile. He's done for. Skill check? You don't need skill with this one. Luffy absolutely solos CP9 before they even get to Enies Lobby, and inside Impel Down, it would lead to Luffy saving Ace before they can even take him to Marineford. So of course, with the Devil Fruit, he goes on to defeat Doflamingo, and of course, if we're keeping with the cohesion of the storyline so far, the hypothetical one anyway, he wouldn't be learning Haki. But for the sake of this fruit and this video, let's say that he does, alright? Let's say he's like Blackbeard and he doesn't need the skill, but he has it anyway. Dude, Luffy would obliterate Kaido and Big Mom. Maybe not quickly, but he would definitely, like, it would be way more swiftly than every other fruit, essentially. I'd say Luffy would get to the One Piece and become Pirate King the fastest with this fruit, since he can do long distance fighting and up close as well. We also don't really know the full capabilities of this fruit, so, like, there's the aura of mystery and speculation in on it, kind of like darkness. In my opinion, with Haki training, the string fruit, the fish fruit, the magma fruit, and the dark fruit would lead to Luffy becoming the Pirate King. But hey, let me know what you think about this list, what you like, what you don't like, what you agree with, what you don't. It's just what I think, hypothesis and whatnot, theory craft. Let me know what you think. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Have an epic day!